Yes.
When the Brewers are pursuing a free agent or looking at a trade, what's the process you go through from Mr. Atanasio on down?
Sure. So when we're pursuing any type of transaction, we have a fairly robust process that we go through internally before anything ever gets to Mark or ownership group. We try to get as many perspectives as possible as we can internally from varying viewpoints, people who have varying backgrounds, people who maybe have different access to different information sources, so we can tease out a little bit how our group is looking at various pieces of information. And so the vast majority of ideas that we have, whether it's free agent signings, waiver claims, trades, the vast majority of ideas die at that stage, where we think we've got a really good idea, we run it through our process and we determine, no, that's probably not something we want to pursue. The few ideas that get past that initial screen and the more in-depth screens that follow, then we'll discuss with our ownership group, with Mark. Mark has been incredibly supportive of our baseball operations initiatives, and he understands how we try to build teams. He understands that our goal is to win sustainably, consistently, over multiple years, over an extended time frame. And to do that, we're at times going to make some counterintuitive decisions, some decisions that, at least on their surface, may look a little bit strange, but he understands that there are reasons behind it, and he has been extremely supportive of what we've tried to accomplish here.
We're going to keep it to a couple more questions from the crowd.
Yeah, David. Question. I'm going to talk about competitive balance. Are there, in your opinion, are there some things that the MLB can do to implement to enhance, increase competitive balance across the board? That would be my first question. And the second question, I know you're a visionary. Do you see MLB's draft going to a world draft at some point?
Two great questions. So from a competitive balance standpoint, our industry operates different than the other major industries, and part of that is because of how the revenue model in our industry has functioned over time. The majority of our revenue is locally generated revenue. The majority of revenue in football is nationally generated revenue through national TV deals. Because of that difference in revenue generation, it's much easier for the NFL to step in and say, we're going to distribute all this revenue equally, regardless of market size, and that's going to put everyone on a more or less even playing field. In baseball, because market size and localities influence revenue to such an extreme, it's much harder for MLB to regulate that to the same extent that some other leagues are able to do that. So we understand in smaller markets that we're not going to have the same payroll as bigger markets, and we have to accept that, and we have to operate in a way where we mitigate that as much as possible. That's what we've tried to do. From my seat here, would I love MLB to implement some newer constraints or some newer methods that can level the playing field from a financial perspective? Of course I would. Do I expect our model to meaningfully change during my career in this game? Probably not. This is the way the industry has operated for a long time. And so it's my job, frankly, not to worry as much about that and to focus on our advantages as an organization, what we can do maybe a little bit better than some organizations and leverage that. Second question, worldwide draft. I don't know that there will be a worldwide draft. It wouldn't surprise me at all if at some point in the future there is a domestic draft like we have right now, and then an international draft that encompasses the rest of the world. That would not surprise me.
So to kind of piggyback off of that, sometimes it feels like baseball is dominated by the bigger organizations with the deeper pockets. From a managerial standpoint, how do you approach that, and does that frustrate you? And do you, I guess just that doesn't,
Yeah.
do you feel like you're in a losing position
No, we don't feel like we're in a losing position at all. And I think we've proven we're not in a losing position. I think the way we handle that is acknowledging that other markets and other organizations are going to have a set of advantages that we can't control. But what we can control are the advantages that our facility, our community, our fan base, our organization, our culture provide us. And we focus on those. We sell those to players, and we've had some success. We've had some success doing that. We are all within our entire organization, business side, baseball side, incredibly motivated by the fact that we don't have the same advantages as some of the other clubs. We understand that there's a really well-run organization 90 miles to our south that is playing with a different size bank account. And competing with that organization and beating that organization and the others like it is I think a driving force for all of us.
All right, one more.
All right, now, the time it takes to play our great pastime seems to be going in the wrong direction. And what is Major League Baseball talking about doing to give the fan experience and shorten the length of the time it takes to play a game?
So the questions about time of game and our game is getting longer. When I first started really being a baseball fan, games were routinely 2:45, 2:50. Average game time now is over 3 hours. I think MLB and the players recognize that this is an issue. There are a bunch of initiatives that have been implemented to try to speed things up. A lot of them at the minor league level right now to test their efficacy and to determine how we can do that. What I have found is that the time of game becomes an issue in your mid-week, July game against the Pittsburgh Pirates. I don't really hear too many people complaining about the time of game in the NLCS game against the Dodgers, right? Like that, those are really exciting moments. If those games last 2:50 or 3:10, I don't think anyone cares as long as the Brewers win. I think the tougher ones are because we have a 162 game season. Those mid-season games at times against less appealing opponents, that's where the time of game comes into play. I think we all recognize that. I certainly think the commissioner recognizes that. I do think we will see improvement in that area, whether it's pitch clocks, whether it's batter box rules. We're trying things with mound visits. We're trying things with making sure relievers have to face a minimum of 3 batters. It's all intended to try to increase the action and shorten the time of game. We'll make progress on it. I don't know that we're going to get back to 2:45. I'd love to, but I do think in the next 2 to 5 years we will see meaningful progress in shortening our game time.
Can I ask you one quick question? What is a Mr. Belvedere, and how has he impacted your life with the Brewers?
What is a Mr. Belvedere? So I think we're on a Bob Uecker question here, if I could, if I'm guessing correctly. So I think Bob is the Brewers, and I think he embodies so much of what is great about Brewers baseball, what is great about baseball in Wisconsin, including the loyalty that people have to baseball in this state. I think the amazing thing about Bob is he maintains the same passion and love for our game as I imagine he had 50 years ago. This is his 50th season here as well. It's our 50th season as an organization. It's his 50th, which is pretty incredible. And I'm fortunate enough where I get to spend enough time with him where I hear all the stories, I get all the jokes, and it's an incredibly rewarding and special part of my job.